All right. Well, in related news, it keeps getting worse for Target. The retail giant lost billions in market value following their Pride Month promotion that included transgender clothing for children. I mean, when are these folks going to learn? I mean, Bud Light, Target. We even now have Chick-fil-A moving down this path of diversity and inclusion. I mean, it's where does this stop? Well, now we've learned, and this is usually personnel as policy, this is what we usually find. We learned that Target's vice president of brand marketing is a treasurer of GLSEN. This is the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Network. This organization works to get school districts to adopt policies that include hiding a child's in school gender transition from parents and providing sexually explicit books to schools. It's all about perverting the minds of children. Well, but as state lawmakers work to protect children from harmful and permanent gender procedures that we just discussed, how should families respond to the indoctrination coming from all angles? Should you be shopping with these people? Should you be giving them your money? Joining me now to discuss this is Dr. Jennifer Bauwens, the director of the Center for Family Studies here at the Family Research Council. She recently submitted testimony here in the state of Louisiana supporting the legislation that we were just talking about to protect children from harmful gender procedures. All right, so 18 states have passed laws prohibiting these harmful treatments for children, and we were just talking with Ohio lawmaker looking to pass similar legislation in the Buckeye State. But we have these woke corporations fully on board pushing this ideology, but there seems to be some real blowback.
Yeah, and I think there was a certain level of tolerating Pride Month and just the onslaught of this is the ideology we want you to adopt, but when we started seeing this play out with our kids, and you start seeing um, onesies that are pride wear, and you start seeing these swimsuits that tell children that there's something wrong with your biology and that you need to tuck it away, um, then you see an outrage, because we've crossed that line. We can no longer be silent because this is impacting our kids. It's impacting the mental well-being, the spiritual well-being of our kids. And if anyone had any doubt about this being not just an issue that affects people's psychology, but also that it's very much rooted in a spiritual problem. Well, I think Target pretty much pulled the curtain on that for us, and we could see some of their designers and some of the roots of the spiritual components for those
You,
who are propagating this transgender
you're
ideology.
talking about one in particular, one of their suppliers who actually is openly promoting Satanism, talking about how Satan uses the right pronouns. So yeah, there is a spiritual component here. I want to talk about the medical component as well. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is set to sign a law to protect children from these procedures. Now, Texas Children's Hospital confirmed that it will end these procedures for minors before the law goes into effect in September. Now, we're seeing a lot of scandals surrounding some of these hospitals that have been doing this stuff, sometimes, I mean, with really young children. Part of the justification in opposing these SAFE Act type measures that would protect children, Democrats, just like the governor in Louisiana, saying, "Well, medical associations, they're not for these bills. They feel like that children should have these types of treatments, and they're the authorities." But we can't trust these medical associations. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly why we have legislation and legislative bodies to come and intervene when groups like medical associations aren't doing their job and they're not policing their own. And basically, what we're seeing is these medical organizations have a certain monopoly on the treatment of what has been termed gender dysphoria. And there's only one offering for helping a child who's suffering from this discomfort. Even though we know if we leave them alone, most of them would desist from this issue. But nonetheless, there's one way that is offered through these medical organizations, and if you even attempt to investigate into another way of helping these kids, then you're deemed a bigot, and that you're deemed some sort of transphobe, and
So
that's
I want to
that's
stop.
exactly why we need someone to come in.
I want to stop you right there because there's only, from their perspective, there's only one way to treat it, and it's with the medical intervention.
That's right.
So when someone suggests, as we would do with other things that are not in alignment, when our body and mind are not in alignment, we would have counseling.
Right.
We would just talk through these things. Say, hey, what's at the root of this? We try to find out what might be leading this or causing this. Well, that's not allowed. In fact, any suggestion to go down that path is labeled conversion therapy, as if it's, hooking someone up to car batteries or something like that, nobody's even talking about.
Yeah, that's right. We have right now a system that reinforces other bad practices. So even with the bills that we're seeing traction on regarding protecting children from these harmful procedures, we can't just say, okay, let's give them another mental health solution, because in a lot of states we already have these counseling bans at play. So we really have to get creative to help people and get them the right treatment. And this is one reason, Tony, we need the church to rise up and to really start thinking about how we can help people who are suffering emotionally, and not just I mean, I think every situation is different, but we need to be open to being the one who's the sent one to the hurting one.
That becomes all the more difficult when at every turn you're confronted with this message that, hey, embrace this, or as you said, you're a bigot, whether it's at the schools where they're hiding this from the parents. Of course, Target, as I just mentioned, one of their vice presidents of branding is with Glisten, that works to put policies into schools to hide this. So you get it at school, you get it when you go to the retailers who are going to be in your face all during the month of June with this. You've got the medical associations. So really, it's like parents are almost standing alone to protect their children. That's why we certainly do need the voice of the church. We need pastors speaking to this issue. We need Christians informed and speaking to this issue. But how should parents respond when we see all that is unfolding before us, whether it's corporate America, whether it's our schools? How should we be responding?
Well, I think one thing, just to target, no pun intended, the corporate issues that are shoving this ideology down our throats is, I remember having a pastor say this a while back, and he said, your dollars are like our soldiers, and where you spend your dollars is where they will go to war for you. And I think we need to think about that when it comes to our spending. We need to think about them, where they're going to war on our behalf. And if we're spending our money and our time, if we're going to movies and doing things with our money that supports people who are enforcing this kind of ideology, I would just say we really need to pray about that and ask the Lord where we were to spend our soldiers, so to speak. And of course, when it comes to when we're dealing with a child who's maybe suffering from this horrible experience, we need to look at their social media accounts. We need to look at where they've been spending their time, who's listening to them, who's speaking it, who has a voice into their lives. Because this is no longer something that's just happening in liberal cities. This is happening in schools all across America at every level.
Yeah.
So we need to be aware of that.
And it is something pastors need to be preaching from the Word of God about this issue. About the issue of human sexuality, about how God has made us and shaped us, as Jesus said in Matthew 19, have you not read from the beginning that he created them male and female? There's no confusion there. And it's a great point, Jennifer, about the stewardship of our resources. God has entrusted these things with us, our money, our jobs, our time, all of that. And we should be using them to bring glory and honor to Him. Jennifer, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for taking time to join us today.
It's good to talk with you too.